So now let's talk about the stage, because this year's Olympia bought more than just physiques. So I'm going to paraphrase. Well, actually, just for time constraint, we're about to get into something. And for anyone out there who don't know what's going on, I suggest y'all to Google it. There's been tons of media coverage on this on all of the bodybuilding outlets, from RX Muscle and Nick Strength and Power covered it. What's the other? Generation Iron and so forth. So basically there was big heated rivalry at the Olympia in the women's physique division between, what were the ladies' names?
Sarah and Natalia.
Yeah, Sarah and Natalia. Exactly. So on the rivalry itself, what was your perspective on the rivalry between Sarah and Natalia?
I think the rivalry is fine. I think the public side of that was kind of like a SMH kind of moment. Yeah.
I was, and I want to say, by the way, just show notes, because like you competed in physique, so that was where you started, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, you started in physique. Yeah,
technically, I started in figure.
That's right. Yeah. But you had a great, like a long run in physique before getting over to open bodybuilding. And I gotta agree with you when I mean, it's a shock whenever there's like an upset, if you will, and I guess everybody can agree, like it was an upset.
Yeah.
And then it's like you get on the internet the next day or 24 hours later, and then, Sarah's throwing jabs. She's shooting slugs. And it's like, oh. It's like, do you think the rivalries help or hurt the sport?
I think rivalries always help sports in general. And one of the things, like when this was playing out, I always, for some reason, like to compare bodybuilding to pro sports, because bodybuilders, we in the IFBB, we're professional athletes, but compare yourself to the NFL, or compare the IFBB to the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, the NHL. Do you see a lot of players in their post-game conferences calling out particular players
Not
like
really.
that? Very rarely do you see that. They may make a general comment, there were some calls, or there was a situation that, I don't agree with, type of thing. So if you want to be respected like a professional athlete and those pro leagues, you got to act like that too.
Makes sense.
So the other thing about that is the judges make the decisions.
That's true.
And yeah, you could be mad at her for looking like that, but who picked her? She didn't pick herself.
That's a good point. And to add to your point about the NFL, one thing I see is that players and coaches in their interviews, they'll talk about the refs. They'll say, hey, that was, and they have to be careful with their words because they don't want to get fined.
Right.
But if you take apart, dissect what they're saying, they're saying, hey, the ref, I mean, that's just like, my friend brings it up every so often because he hates the New Orleans Saints, but several years ago, that divisional game between the Saints and the Chargers, that pass interference call, the ref screwed the Saints out going back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everybody, even if you hate the New Orleans Saints, you hate the state of Louisiana, you can see like, that was a bad call. They should, that shouldn't have hurt them like that, but you're right. Yeah, the judges made the call, and it's like, what can you do? Speaking of judging, was the judging fair in your opinion?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was, because judging it's surface level only. They look at you and they're like, I see that this person looks better than this one. It's not looking at what you did or how your prep was or anything like that. They don't look at or consider any of that. It's just how you show up right there. If you don't flex, or if you breathe wrong and you look bad, that's going to count against you.
Or don't smile.
Right.
Smile is important. People don't realize.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And the same thing goes for going back to the other major sports like NFL and NBA. Like, no one looks at how an athlete gets their skill set. I mean, like, let's take LeBron. Everyone knows LeBron spent millions of dollars on his training, having the best chefs, the best trainers. He does cryotherapy, but refs in the NBA don't care about that. Like, hey, that's good for him. He's doing it so he can still, at his age, compete at a highest level, especially against all these youngsters that are in the NBA now. But he doesn't. But that's not counted against him on the court. You know, what's counted against him on the court is what he does on the court.
Right.
You know?
And you don't see other players complaining about the stuff that he does, or like Tom Brady or whatever. Like, Tom Brady eats this diet. You know, that's why he, won however many Super Bowls.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I'm an athlete. I'm like, well, if he's eating that, maybe I should eat that too. You know what I mean? Like, I want to win a Super Bowl. Let me eat that. As a veteran of the sport, how would you advise athletes to handle public disagreements?
Keep it professional. And that's something else. I'm airing my pet peeves about bodybuilding. And also comparing it to other pro sports. Keep it professional. I think in bodybuilding, sometimes there's a lack of professionalism that maybe hurts the respect for the sport and the ability for the sport to be seen as a true pro sport.
Yeah.